No flies? Okay, thank you, Walt. That rumor I referred to was that many years later said that had Annie missed that cigarette in the Kaiser's mouth, we might not have experienced World War I. Now, isn't that an interesting thought? Fast forwarding a few years, we come to radio entertainment as it was so very popular in the 40s and 50s. Art Linkletter was one of a kind. Born Gordon Arthur Kelly in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada in 1912, abandoned as an infant and adopted by the Linkletters before moving to California. His marriage to Lois Forster lasted 74 and a half years until he died at the age of 97 in 2010. Not only was he a well-known TV host, he wrote a number of books, one of the last ones being Old Age is Not for Sissies. Remember that, guys. He had a degree in teaching, but found that radio paid better, and segued into radio and television to provide many laughs for many of us. Kids say the darndest things, and of course, people are funny. It is one of these People Are Funny shows that we bring you tonight. Hope you enjoy.
Lady, are you sure you know where your husband is tonight?
We have a lady who doesn't, and you'll meet her later on
People Are Funny.
Yes, transcribed from Hollywood, John Goodell's production of People Are Funny, brought to you by Forever Yours and Milky Way Candy Bars, two quality bars made famous by Mars. And now, here's radio's top master of ceremonies, Art Linkletter.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Hollywood and the People Are Funny show. I think we're going to have a very busy and I hope exciting half hour ahead of you. You're going to hear about the dog who will inherit $1,000 cash, and you kids and parents all over the country, you'll learn how to get Halloween masks for nothing. But right now, Roy Rowan, who's first to help us prove that people are funny in Hollywood?
Miss Carol Nervy from Pasadena, California. Meet Art Linkletter.
Hello, Miss Nervy.
How do you do?
As you know, Halloween Tricks and Treats will be with us soon, October 31st. Your trick on this program will be long in a minute, but right now, here's a treat, a big 24-bar box of that dark chocolate favorite, Forever Yours.
Thank you.
Now, you're a single girl.
Yes, I am.
And your first name is?
Carol.
And what do you do, Carol?
I'm an X-ray technician registered.
Oh, you're very pretty blonde, and you've never been married.
No.
And there's no reason why you shouldn't be if you find the right fella.
Oh, I don't think so.
So you are romantically inclined?
Why, certainly.
As a matter of fact, Miss Nervy, I must confess to something. For our first stunt tonight, we really need a married woman, and you're single. And would you pretend, just for the fun of it, pretend that you're married for the evening?
I will.
You will. All right. You'll go along with it then. Okay. I now pronounce you a married woman. And what do you know, folks? Here's already is her first child. Would you bring it out, please? This is a 6.5-month baby boy. Isn't he a cutie pie? Say, don't things happen fast on this show? She was a single girl a minute ago, and now she's married and has a baby. Take a look at him. You think he looks more like you or like your husband?
Well, he doesn't have my brown eyes.
And you don't know what your husband looks like, do you?
No, not now.
Well, it doesn't make any difference because, Mrs. Nervy, you don't have any husband now because he's just deserted you. You see, things do happen fast here. A minute ago she was married, and now she has a baby, and now her husband's gone. Now, I'll tell you where he is. He's down at Hollywood bus station getting ready to take a bus and desert you and your child. Are you properly confused?
I am.
You don't know what I'm driving at? I see a look of horror creeping into her eyes. Well, this is the truth, Miss Nervy. Here's the idea of this stunt. We're going to drive you, Mr. Irv Atkins there, you and your baby down to a bus station, and he'll point out a man to you.
He will?
Now, you rush up to this stranger and you accuse him of deserting you and your baby. Now, I want you to make this dramatic and believable. Pretend I'm the husband. What would you say?
You scoundrel! How dare dare you run away and leave us alone?
That's pretty good, isn't it? Well, she catches on fast. Well, I'll tell you, remember the landlady who needs the rent, there's no milk for the baby in the house, anything you can think of. Don't worry about the stranger because he's an actor that we've hired that Irv will point out. What we want to find out is the reaction of the people in the bus station. There's always maybe 30 or 40 people waiting. Will they take sides in the family squabble? People are funny about sticking their nose into other people's business. You got that?
Yes.
And kind of take note whether they side with you or him and so forth. It'll be kind of an interesting report when you get back, okay?
All right.
Oh, on your way, Irv. Say goodbye to the poor deserted wife. You know how we're going to double-cross her. And then, well, you already know, I won't tell you. Wait till the end of the program to find out if you're right. Say, Roy, would you believe it? The other day I was actually talking with some men from Mars.
Oh, sure, Art. Everybody does. They land in flying saucers. They're little people with 3 heads and purple eyes.
Roy, one more word from you and you'll be working on another show. These men from Mars do not have 3 heads and purple eyes. They're from the Mars Candy Company right here on Earth. Of course, the candy they make is out of this world because they are makers of Forever Yours candy bars. When they make Forever Yours, they only have one thing in mind, and that is the pleasure you get from them. And that's why the Mars people don't care how much it costs as long as they turn out the best candy bar ever made. Now you take that dark milk chocolate that covers a Forever Yours. It's the best dark chocolate that money can buy. And you get lots of it. And then there's the delicious nougat center flavored with pure vanilla, and there's none finer. And when it comes to a caramel layer that tops the nougat, it's the tastiest you've ever bit into. Now to see that you make a really good caramel, you have to have plenty of cream in it, and that's what Mars does, puts in plenty. Plenty of the best cream and fresh country eggs and sugar, everything else that goes into caramel. Forever Yours just can't help being a great candy bar. If you try one, folks, you'd see. Why don't you try one tomorrow and see for yourself?
And always make yours forever yours.
So, who's next, Roy?
Mr. Stanley Mitchell from Los Angeles. Meet Art Linkletter.
Howdy, Mr. Mitchell. You're Mr. Mitchell, a single man?
Yes, sir.
Well, to sweeten you up a little more as a bachelor, here's a big box of 24 delicious Forever Yours candy bars.
Thank you.
Now, Stanley, what do you do for a living?
I take care of the mail.
Where?
Terminal Annex.
Oh, here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And you're 40?
Right.
And you've never been married?
Yes, I have.
Ah, and how many true friends do you think you can count on? It's something very few people have given a lot of thought to, but how many would you say?
Quite a few.
You have a lot of friends?
Quite a few.
Uh-huh, and what's your definition of a true friend?
Well, I would say that one would go to bat for you when you were in a tough spot.
Another definition would be a fellow who might lend you money when you need it without asking you why you have to have it or when he'll get it back. Wouldn't that be a definition of a true friend?
You forced me to say yes.
Well, I would say so. And a true friend would do that. You'd come up to him and say, Joe, I need $10 or whatever it is, and he gives it to you.
I guess so.
All right. Now, do you think you have a friend whom you could telephone this evening who would let you borrow $100 on a quick, unexplained notice?
I think so.
You think you have? Well, we're going to find out. People are funny judging how many friends they have. There's a telephone over there on that table. It's an outside line with a connection, so we'll be able to hear both ends of the conversation. And if you can get one of your friends to promise to lend you $100 tonight, we're going to give you an all-expense-paid vacation at the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas. Now, you've got a number in mind, some friend, you know his number. Just lift up the receiver. Now he's really scratching his forehead there. And you just start dialing, and there are 2 rules. You can't tell him you're on People Are Funny, and you can't tell him why you need it. And you must do it in a minute and a half after you get to him. After your friend...
I can't tell him why I need it?
No. You just have to say you need it badly, see? All right, now just start dialing. Lift it up and start dialing.
Johnny.
Yeah?
This is Stan.
Oh, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Say, I'm kind of sort of in a bad spot. I need some money pretty bad. Could you let me have it in a day or so?
Well, listen, can you meet me downtown later on tonight?
Well, I'd just like to know, you know? I mean, it's quite a bit, and I just like to know. I need it pretty bad.
Well, how much?
A minute to go.
100. Can you make it?
Where can I meet you?
Well,
Can I come someplace after my lecture? Say I'll be back around 9:30?
9:30?
Yeah?
Well, could you let me know now? I gotta know right away.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, listen. I'll talk to you later.
Well, who was that fella?
That was John Goodman, a clerk, a friend of mine.
Clerk down at the postal department.
No, he works at the Hollywood station.
The Hollywood station. How do you like that? He even works at a different station, and how did he do it in how much time, Roy?
57 seconds.
57 seconds, and I'll tell you, kind of had your heart in your throat there for a second, but when it came right down to the line, that boy delivered. And as a result of tonight's program, we probably get lots of calls from his friends. They know a good one now when they hear one. Well, Mr. Mitchell, you have a friend who trusts you, and you must be the kind of friend who merits it. You win from Forever Yours an all-expense vacation at the luxurious Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas, and you'll be flown there on a 300-mile-an-hour TWA Trans-World Constellation. Had some fun, huh?
Yeah, wonderful.
And besides, because you have such a nice friend, we're going to send him from us an electric shaver, a Shavex, the amazing attachment that doubles the power of any electric shaver. Thanks from People Are Funny for proving that people are swell. Goodbye, Stanley.
And don't forget, always make yours forever yours.
Okay, who's next, Roy Rowan?
Mrs. Lillian Peterson from Los Angeles meets Art Linkletter.
All right, Mrs. Peterson, you come up here. What do you do as a job?
I work downtown at Bullock's.
And now, Mrs. Peterson, to sweeten up those spooks that are going to come around next Halloween, we have a big box of Forever Yours bars from Mars Candy Company for you. And do you recall that you said you believe in female intuition?
Why, yes.
Well, we think that people are funny about liking to tell of their narrow escapes. If anybody's ever escaped with their life in an interesting or unusual way, they're bound and determined to have everybody hear about it. And so you and I are going down into the audience, Mrs. Peterson. We're going to walk up and down in the aisles, and we're going to talk to 3 or 4 people. And they're going to tell us their true stories of their narrow escapes. But I must warn you that there's one person in the audience who's a phony, planted there by us, a liar, and he's not going to tell the truth. Now, Forever Yours will give you $200 worth of fine merchandise from the famous Spiegel catalog if you can tell us which one is lying after you've heard them all.
I'll try.
All right, let's see the hands of the people who'd like to tell us about their narrow escapes. Would you stand up, the lady right there in the coral suit? You're Mrs.
Healy.
Mrs. Healy, suppose you just tell us in your own words where it happened and what happened.
Well, several years ago in Chicago, there were some new neighbors who moved in and built a very beautiful new home in this residential district, and they moved in a few weeks before Halloween and had a housewarming Halloween night. At about 2 in the morning, I was awakened by dreadful yelling and screaming, and with the neighborhood being quiet, it alarmed me. I got up and I put on my slippers and went to the front window, and there was this street just milling with men beating and banging each other. In the meantime, the neighbor evidently called the police, and the patrol came and took them off, and in a little while, a flashlight flashed over my windows where in between time, something, I don't know what it was, went overhead. And I put my hand up and my hair was full of glass. And these 2 men rang my doorbell, and I came to the door, and they said they were detectives, and they had noticed the hole in the glass, and they wanted to know if anybody was injured. Well, I told them that I was so surprised and scared I didn't know what to say. One fellow looked down at me and he said, "Boy, you would have been a cooked goose if you had shoes on, you have slippers on, and you were just below the bullet.
Well, you heard that story now, Mrs. Peterson. How do you do, sir? Your name is?
Al Keene.
Where are you from, Mr. Keene?
St. Louis, Missouri.
And what was the story of your narrow escape?
Well, a couple of years ago, I was wrestling professionally in a small town, not too small town, Owensboro, Kentucky. And after my match, which I won, the people seemed to think I was unfair in my tactics. And when the referee announced that I had won, it seemed like the whole arena rose and was just about to lynch me. And my opponent, still quite angry for something, I can't to this day figure out what it was, runs over and he just hits me with all his might.
When you weren't looking?
Yes, and that's all I remember, that I was knocked out cold. But later on in the dressing room, I found out that if I hadn't been for the fact that he knocked me out and they carried me out on a stretcher, God only knows what might have happened to me. With all those people who seemed to claim that I was wrong.
In other words, they were ready to form a lynch mob for you.
Yes, that's right.
Sounds interesting, doesn't it?
Well, I'm not, I don't know too much about wrestling.
So our next guest is Mr.
Paul.
Where are you from, Mr. Paul?
Well, originally Chicago.
All right. What was your narrow escape?
Well, last year it was our 25th anniversary, and I almost forgot. It was on November 11th, so at the last minute I thought, well, I'd better get some silverware because it's our silver anniversary. So I went to the bank to get some money, and they just handed me the money. I heard some alarms and some bullets going off, so I ran for the door, and a bullet crashed into the door above my head.
It was a bank holdup.
Uh-huh.
But you got all right.
Yep.
And you didn't get hit.
Nope.
All right. There's two bullet stories. This was a bank holdup, and the other was a neighborhood brawl. Thank you very much, sir. We have one more guest, a lady. That makes two ladies and two men. Now remember, one of these is a liar. I know he's a liar because we put him there, or her, and she or he was to tell one fact in the story which would tip you off. You are Mrs.
Mrs. Howard Reston.
From where?
From Los Angeles now.
Mrs. Reston, what happened to you?
Well, when I was about 3, we moved near, but not too far from a railroad track, and one night my sister got scared. She was dreaming, and she tried to throw me out the upstairs window. And if the screen hadn't been there, I would have toppled out. But I yelled, and so when I hit the floor, she woke up.
How old were you? About 3?
About 3.
And how old was she?
Well, I wouldn't say. She was much older than I. She was about 14 years old.
In other words, it was a nightmare. And she was in her sleep taking you to the window to throw you out.
Right.
Well, that's an exciting story. It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
A long time ago.
Uh-huh. Well, now, Mrs. Peterson, you've been looking at all these guests, and you can just glance around. Here they all stand. You can judge their honesty and their expression and delivery. There's one thing which is not true about the story, and remember, if you tell me in the first guess who is the phony in this little stunt to prove that people are phony, you'll get $200 worth of choice merchandise from the famous Spiegel catalog. Spiegel has satisfied thousands of customers for 88 years. Mrs. Peterson, who are you picking?
Well, this man has a suspicious look on his face. If I judged from that way, yes.
In other words, the wrestler.
Yes.
Looks suspicious to you.
Yes.
Now, there's nothing about his story particularly because you don't know anything about wrestling.
I know nothing whatsoever.
But your intuition tells you that there is something sneaky about him.
Yes. Yes, the way his eyes and the general contour of his face and so on.
Yeah, you know, this is very interesting because this happens in police lineups all the time because people identify suspicious-looking people and often they are accused of crimes. And believe me, you have very good intuition most of the time, but not this time. He's a perfectly okay guy.
Is that right?
So I'm sorry, you're wrong. Now I'm going to have to drop the prize to $100 and give you a second guess. Now you know that he told the truth. Now if you had been listening carefully and looking carefully, I think you could have told. You want to take a second guess?
Well, I assure you it will be a guess at random this time, definitely. I have no idea now.
You haven't. Well, what are you going to guess?
Well, I'll just guess this man then.
This man here?
Mm-hmm.
For any special reason?
No, just because I'm going to guess now.
In other words, you seem to think that men are more apt to be liars than women.
Well...
You've been married.
I am.
Okay, yes. Well, that explains everything. You still are married.
Yes, I am.
Well, you're feeling that the men are more liable to tell lies than the women.
No, they aren't. Women are better prevaricators than men.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes.
Women are...
Yes, but tonight...
No, not tonight.
Well, you've hit it right. Your guess was right the second time. The man who doesn't look sneaky at all did tell a lie, and I'll tell you what it was that should have tipped you off. It was his 25th wedding anniversary that he went to the bank, and it was November 11th. Now, what's November 11th?
Armistice.
Armistice Day, yes. And what happens at banks on Armistice Day?
They're closed.
That's right. Oh, that's right. And we want to thank our guests who told us the true stories of their narrow escapes. We'd like to have each of you have a sparkling chrome Miramatic coffee maker, and thanks from Forever Yours for proving that you can't be too careful when you judge people. Thank you.
And don't forget, make yours forever yours.
2 weeks ago, a little pup from the Los Angeles City Pound had his life saved because he was adopted by a member of our studio audience a few hours before he was doomed to extinction. Now, strangely enough, on this program of all places, it turned out that this little dog had $1,000 cash in the bank, and he had a little note around his neck saying that he wanted to give it to some other homeless dog in a pound somewhere in the United States. Now, last week, we picked a man at random out of our studio audience to find the missing dog. We discovered he was a Reserve Air Force officer whose hometown was Salt Lake City, Utah. We sent him back to his hometown on a 300-mile-an-hour Trans-World Airline Constellation, where he was to interview people who had adopted dogs during the preceding week and to award $1,000 in cash to the dog of his choice. Now, he's supposed to be back here in Hollywood tonight. He didn't make it, but we had him on the telephone line, I think, the last couple of minutes. John, is that right? Bring out the phone. This is a regular phone. You take the microphone, John, and I'll check with him. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, you're Richard Kaiser?
Yes, this is Dick.
I thought we'd lost you.
No, I'm still here.
In Salt Lake?
Yes.
Well, you're supposed to be back this week, I know, of course, but you were delayed getting away due to your own personal problems. But what happened?
Well, this was more of a job than I figured. It's kind of hard to judge a dog, especially when there is that much money involved.
But what do you do now? You got a list of dogs adopted from the pound?
That's right.
And now you're visiting these homes?
Yes, I am. I have a list of things I look for in the dogs.
Like what?
Well, general appearance, their alertness. Does he learn tricks easily? Does he understand what is wanted? Friendliness? Does he come rushing up, wagging his tail? Is he a good protector? Does he watch the property, or does he watch the young children that are out playing? Then I sort of play with the dog a little and look him over, give him a general checking.
By the way, I did want to ask you, this is your hometown and you're single, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Are you looking up any old girlfriends?
Well, yes, I certainly am. I wish I was out judging the young ladies.
Stick to the dogs.
I will.
You can see the girls on your own time, and Dick, we'll see you back here in Hollywood next Tuesday for a full report, and with the dog and with the person who adopted the dog from the pound, and we'll award $1,000 then.
Okay, fine.
Goodbye, Dick.
Bye.
Well, There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The young fellow's up there in Salt Lake City having the time of his life at our expense, and somebody's going to get $1,000 because they were nice enough and kind enough to get a little dog from the pound. We'll find out next week who it is that when Mr. Kaiser brings the dog and the master back to Hollywood. A week from Saturday is Halloween, the night for all the spooks and goblins to be out. And believe me, when they come to my house, they're going to be happy because I'm stocking up with Forever Yours and Milky Way candy bars right there at home. And the kids really go for them. I know that from past seasons. It's the best candy bar that money can buy. And there's another lesson. Reason I'm passing out Forever Yours and Milky Way candy bars this Halloween. The colorful free masks on the back of the Forever Yours 24-bar packages and on the backs of Milky Ways and Milky Way 6-packs. Now our announcer Roy is holding them up. Look at some of them. There's one of a pirate, and there's one of a silly clown. And look at that horrible, oh, that's me. I beg your pardon. I didn't think they were turning out masks so frightening this year. Anyhow, there are 18 different masks in full color on Mars candy boxes, and the kids will love them when they go out for their tricks and treats. Now, ladies and gentlemen, take a tip from me and give Forever Yours and Milky Way candy bars on Halloween night. You'll be the ghost of the town. All the little spooks will come calling on you. Forever Yours and Milky Ways, the best treats that ever turned to trick on Halloween. Now, we had a stunt that started a few minutes ago that was one of the most exciting stunts as far as possibilities are concerned that we've had in a long time. We sent a single girl out pretending that she was married with a 6.5-month-old baby boy in her arms to go to a Hollywood bus station and accuse a strange man of trying to desert her and their baby. She's back. Let's find out what happened and what was the double cross. Here comes Miss Nervy. A sweet gal from Canada originally. Now, how do you like being a married lady?
Oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I'll bet. You had to go up to the bus station tonight and Mr. Atkins pointed out a fella, did he?
He sure did.
And what did you do and what did he do when you yelled about the desertion?
Oh, he denied it. He said, no, he wasn't married to me. He said, you must have the wrong lady.
The wrong what?
I mean, the wrong husband. He said, lady, you must have the wrong husband. And I said, no, indeed, I haven't the wrong husband. Where are you going?
Did he try and get away from you?
You bet he did. He sat there and he tried to argue for a few minutes. And then I said, where do you think you're going? And he said, I'm going to San Diego.
Well, what kind of a looking fellow was he?
Well, nice smile. 6'2", 160 pounds.
You said this is what he looked like?
Yes.
And what did the rest of the people in the place do?
Well, at first, when I first got in there, the people were hypnotized.
You mean by this suddenly being an eyewitness to such a personal drama?
That's right.
Did you get a proper inflection in your voice?
Oh, yes. And then they were standing there, and before we left, the people were just standing, looking, and their eyes were popping out of their heads, and they just...
Did anybody do anything or say anything?
Then we went over to the, to the ticket office, and when the man said, he told me the bus was leaving at 6:55, and I said, well, you can't go on that one. That's only 10 minutes. I said, we got to talk this over.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then he said, no, I can't do that. And then he started going away, and I kept going with him.
Well, with the baby in your arms, where was he edging towards?
He was going to the men's room.
Did he get away from you, I mean?
Well, naturally, when he went in there, I stood there for a few minutes, and then I came away. And
did anybody take your side? Or?
Well, when I came out, there were 3 women. They rushed up, and one of them said, well, she ought to know her own husband. What's the matter with men?
Yeah.
Where does he think he's going? Call the police.
These women, they were sticking their noses in your
business. Yes.
But no man at the station volunteered to say anything?
Oh, well, there was a sailor there, and he was really giving the man the eye.
But he didn't say anything?
No, he just kept standing there looking.
Now, this is interesting to us because this is a bona fide experiment, and the women were the only ones who volunteered to call the police or do something drastic about it.
Well, there were 2 or 3 men there, but they were just sort of looking, and they were maybe skeptical. I don't know.
Well, did Mr. Atkins, did you notice anything?
All I can say is, when he steps out of that men's room, 3 old ladies are going to lynch him, Art.
3 old ladies. Well, now, don't you feel sorry for the poor guy who was acting the part of your erring husband?
Oh, yes.
As a matter of fact, you should feel sorry because you know this program, don't you?
Oh, yes?
He was no more an actor than you are. He was a perfectly innocent guy that Irv pointed out.
Oh, no!
This guy was a stranger. We just picked him out, and he's probably going to come out of the men's room about Christmas. Isn't that awful?
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, now you know exactly what will happen in a bus station if this ever occurs to you.
I certainly will.
I'm sure the man you get will be too smart to ever leave you. Well, mistakes will happen, and because Irv did this dirty trick on you, I didn't want to, but he did. It was his idea. We want you to have a beautiful Tappan gas range with exclusive Tappan features, because good foods just happen when you're cooking on a Tappan. Can you cook?
I certainly can.
And now you've got a Tappan. I'll bet you'll be married in a week. Goodbye, and thanks from People Are Funny. Well, I guess that's about it for tonight. If you live in Southern California, or if you're going to come out here for a visit and you'd like tickets for People Are Funny, you can write CBS Hollywood for tickets. Now, before I go, on behalf of the Mars Candy Company, I'd like to extend greetings to a fine organization that has constantly worked to prevent accidents. It's the National Safety Council, which this week is observing its 41st National Safety Congress in Chicago. Congratulations and success in this important job. Now, this is Lark Linkletter saying goodbye from Hollywood and reminding you that it will be trick to treat this Halloween with Forever Yours and Milky Ways. Get them both in economical 6-pack and 24-bar box with a free colorful cutout mask on the back. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
Tonight's zany People Are Funny show was brought to you by the Riverside Township, as all our shows have been for the past 15 years. The cast of this recreation of the October 1953 original was Art Linkletter himself, better known to us as Walt Kovalik. The contestants who won those humongous prizes and were the victims of narrow escapes: Sue Gajinski, Andre Dixon, Sue Kovalik, and that terrible liar, Roger Morris. Not being able to nail him on the first guess because she never caught on that the banks were closed on November 11th was Nell Brennan. Richard Kaiser, the man looking for the kind people who adopt rescue dogs, but sounded as if he'd rather be adopted by some gorgeous blonde, was played by Jay Summerfield. The guy who had to find a buddy to lend him $100 on the spot was our sound effects man, who's usually busier than anyone, but not on this show, Marty McNulty. And the good buddy who evidently doesn't mind partying with his money was once again Roger Morris. And because for once he didn't have 100 buttons to push, we gave him the additional one-liner of Irv Atkins. That was another role for Marty McNulty. And finally, if ever any of you feel you'd like to run up to a stranger and accuse him of being a deserting husband just so you could win a new stove, just ask our radio player, Donna Amesmeyer. I'm happy to say that tonight your announcer got to hold up mask and introduce people, and my name is Dave Sanchi. And now, before we introduce next month's director, here's a word from tonight's chief in charge, Ellie Babcock.
Folks, I bet that Walt Kovalik wishes he were paid by the word tonight. He just rattled and rattled. During rehearsal, he turns a page once, and he's talking, he turns the page, and there's more. But I think he did a great job. Thanks, Walt. And if he were ever lucky enough to get paid for the number of times he said the word "forever yours" or whatever goes into it. And on your way out, by the way, our surprise for tonight, please pick up a mini bar of that delicious, flavorful, out-of-this-world Milky Way candy bar that's in a basket over there. One to a customer, please. Now, why a Milky Way and not a Forever Yours, you ask? Well, they stopped. Anybody know why? They stopped making them in 1979. I don't know where I've been. To my great surprise, when I started looking for them, I keep remembering that silver and blue packaging and wondered why I couldn't find any. Well, that's why. Mars morphed it into a Musketeer candy bar, and would you believe it? It's still wrapped in silver with the blue and the red wrapper. So enjoy an early Halloween treat. You don't need to trick, and come back to see us next month. I just want to warn you that there will not be any more promotions going along with any future shows, even if they are sponsored by Roma Wine or Lucky Strike or JELLO. Sorry about that. Our thanks for tonight and every night go to the Riverside Township, and let's not forget our technical men who video every show for later viewing on local Channel 6. Their names are John V. Gelsomino and Lorenza Cordoba. And I also want to thank a couple of people who volunteer extra time to get these shows together. I can't tell you how much I appreciate, or we all appreciate, the extra things they do. It's the lady that makes sure our shows are mentioned in the newspapers. That's Donna Amesmeyer. Thank you, Donna. And you'll have to admit, the man who puts in hours of extra work to make it sound as authentic as possible, and he also creates our very creative flyers, because he's a pro, and his name, of course, is Marty. Thank you, Marty. And now to whet your appetites for next month's show, our next month's October director, Andre Dixon.
Good evening, everyone. As Ellie said, I am Andre Dixon, and I will be your host and the director for our Halloween show. As usual, the programs will be here, and we will begin at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, October 25th. In preparation for Halloween, I have chosen 2 radio plays. Both were written by Arch Obler. The first play, Another World, aka Alter Ego, is from a short-run series called Arch Obler Plays. The second play, Chicken Heart, is from the long-running series Lights Out. I hope that each of you will bring a friend or two to help you shiver. You will not want to be alone when the lights go out. Until we meet again, right here at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, October 25th. Be careful. Watch over your shoulder. You never know who or what is coming. Now I'll turn the mic over to tonight's director, Ms. Ellie Babka.
I have nothing else to say. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the candy bars and see you next month.